Many individuals who start hiking consider switching to climbing. I've created the tutorial below to illustrate what it looks like. In order to describe ascending a mountain, we often use the phrases mountaineering and hiking, but in reality, these two outdoor activities need quite different abilities, equipment, and levels of initiative. To clarify how they vary, where they overlap, and which is best for you, we compare mountaineering to hiking. What distinguishes mountaineering from hiking, then? In addition to hiking, mountaineering incorporates other sports like rock climbing and skiing. It is a more focused, intense form of the activity. Continue to read this article on mountaineering versus hiking and you will figure out what it is all about. Although there are many different definitions of hiking, most simply involve moving from one place in nature to another. Although there are several variations of hiking under that category, such as peak bagging and trekking, it is the basic goal of the sport. In contrast, mountaineering is the skill of ascending technically challenging mountains. Although the two pursuits have a lot of similarities in their fundamentals, mountaineering is significantly more demanding and dangerous. What is mountaineering? An activity that involves climbing to the top of mountains for fun is known as mountaineering, which is somewhat different from alpinism. In order to reach the top, mountaineering combines activities like rock climbing, ice climbing, and skiing, basically whatever the terrain needs. Mountaineering is by its very nature an adventurous sport that involves some danger and calls for technical skill. Even though there is plenty of proof that early people explored mountains all over the globe, scientists didn't begin to show an interest in climbing mountains for recreation until the 18th century, when they began to talk about Mont Blanc in the Alps. All of the Alps peaks had been successfully scaled by 1870, and climbing had developed into a thriving sport in Britain. When the Alpine Club was established in 1857, mountaineers began to look beyond the Alps and toward more difficult ranges like the Himalayas. Greater than read, is traveling a hobby? The ultimate guide to an exciting way of life. Greater than learn about the downsides of traveling as a hobby. What is hiking? Despite the fact that the phrases are not interchangeable, mountaineering always involves some hiking. In fact, one might argue that hiking is the basis of mountaineering, with additional techniques like climbing and skiing being used as needed. Nevertheless, you should be aware that climbing always involves high-altitude trekking, which calls for training, acclimatization, appropriate clothes, and equipment, and potentially even carrying supplementary oxygen. These abilities and equipment may also be needed for certain trekking, like as hiking a 14er, although hiking may also be done at lower altitudes. Mountaineering versus hiking, understanding the difference. The foundation of mountaineering might be referred to as hiking. Actually, all mountaineering entails is making extended treks over difficult terrain while including some more technical aspects. But fundamentally, there are many parallels between it and trekking. Because of this, hiking is often used as a stepping stone for more difficult pursuits like climbing. There is probably no better place to start than with hiking if you want to start climbing significant mountains or have aspirations of seeing the Himalayas. However, just because two hobbies overlap doesn't indicate that everyone will find both enjoyable. You should weigh the advantages and disadvantages of each before determining if you want to go from hiking to mountaineering. However, despite these similarities, there are also significant distinctions between the two. Understanding the risks. The first factor to take into account is how much more hazardous climbing is. The moderate risks associated with hiking include the potential for falls, exposure to the weather, twisted ankles, and exposure to natural dangers. In comparison, mountaineering is among the riskiest pursuits there is. On the world's toughest climbing expeditions, like K2, up to 25% of climbers who reach the top pass away. Technical preparations needed. The inclusivity of hiking is one of its tremendous benefits. Almost anybody may take part, regardless of age, degree of fitness, or previous experience. There is a trek out there for everyone, even if you won't be able to do them all without training. In comparison, mountaineering requires years of training to even reach an entry level. Before you can go on an unguided mountaineering excursion, there are a number of skills you need to acquire. Final goals. Hiking is a pretty undemanding and laid-back activity, as I said in the introduction. Most of the time, you can simply go out and have fun since there isn't always an end in sight. Mountaineers often set themselves up for considerable risk in an effort to accomplish a well-defined aim. This is often the peak of a specific mountain. Check out the trailer for Meru, the mountain, to see some of the most intense, driven mountaineers ever. Equipment needed. The necessary gear is the last and most significant distinction between mountaineering and hiking. All you actually need on a trek are some boots, a bag, and some water and food. More equipment will be needed for harder treks, but you can get by with only that. But there is a vast list of equipment needed for mountaineering. You can see my whole list here, but even a simple climbing excursion will need the following: boots, appropriate attire, protection helmet, emergency supplies, harness, rope, Crosby ice axe. Benefits of hiking: accessibility, know of your age, experience, or level of fitness, almost anybody can begin hiking. Geographically straightforward, only mountainous areas are suitable for mountaineering, obviously. Contrarily, hiking is practiced practically everywhere around the globe. Low cost, you can get dependable hiking gear for less than $500, and you probably won't need to invest any money up front. You will need to invest several $1,000s to start mountaineering. Safety, not everyone enjoys taking unnecessary risks for entertainment. Hiking is a fantastic way to experience nature while posing little risk. Drawbacks to hiking: not as satisfying. Although there aren't many drawbacks to hiking in general, climbing is a popular choice because of the added difficulty, risk, and reward it offers. Benefits of mountaineering: remoteness. There's something wonderful about venturing off the main road and into areas that are accessible to just a small number of people. Few other hobbies provide you the chance to do it as mountaineering does. Mountaineering may be more thrilling and unpredictable than hiking because to the risk and the range of abilities required, which can sometimes get monotonous opportunity to test your talents, mountaineering offers an unlimited playground for you to test your talents against. Some individuals enjoy challenging themselves. Drawbacks to climbing: risk. As we've previously discussed, climbing has a significant risk factor. Cost. As I have indicated, starting out in climbing may be quite costly. Time. Much like the price, being a skilled climber requires a large time commitment that not everyone has. Skills in mountaineering: the diversity of abilities you need to be a successful climber have already been touched on a few occasions. I want to go into further depth now about all the many activities you must master before you are prepared to go from climbing to hiking. Skills needed for hiking: the first thing you need to do is learn how to hike well, despite the fact that it may seem a bit apparent. This includes a variety of factors. There is no perfect measure, but being able to walk 20 kilometers with a pack weighing 20 pounds would be a good place to start. The ability to use a map, compass, and GPS is essential for successful hiking. Additionally, you should be adept at navigating, picking the easiest way through tricky sections. The little details that go into becoming an excellent hiker are all included in this last category. This includes information such as how much water to carry, how to lighten your load, how to survive an emergency, and what equipment suits you the best. Final words: mountaineering may be for you if you are an expert climber and backcountry skier who is fearless and adventurous in inclement weather and hilly terrain. But it's advised that you begin with a group of more seasoned climbers with a guide and take your time acclimating to greater altitudes. For the time being, you should stick to hiking if you don't have any expertise or ability with climbing or backcountry skiing and are simply looking for some outdoor adventure. If you have your heart set on climbing in the future, start by learning how to climb outdoors and ski uphill. You can always boost the ante by preparing for a lengthy through hike. Rock climbing will virtually always be a part of mountaineering, whether it is bouldering or employing equipment for traditional climbing. After all, you're definitely on a trek if you can ascend on your own 2 feet without using any climbing techniques. But even if you choose to use crampons and ice axes instead of ropes and ladders to climb the hardest areas, you'll still need to use your hands, arms, feet, and legs. Understand the differences between mountaineering versus hiking and you will get the best returns.